Hey guys, it's Hidan'sHeathen. Today I'm going to be talking about Attack on Titan, chapter 139, the final chapter of the entire manga. I started getting into Attack on Titan when I was in middle school, and in a few months I will be graduating from college, so this chapter was emotional to say the least. This video will spoil the ending of Attack on Titan, so if you haven't read chapter 139 yet, please click off this video and read it. I have mixed feelings on this chapter, but without further ado, let's get into it. Last month, chapter 138 ended with this iconic panel, which showed Mikasa kissing Eren's decapitated head as the founder Ymir watched on in the background. Yet, in a classic Attack on Titan fashion, chapter 139 began in a completely different space, with Eren and Armin conversing in their child forms in pre-year 845 Shiganshina. Their childish forms fit the tone of their conversation, as both Eren and Armin seem lost as to how they should proceed and feel genuine repentance towards everything that has happened. This repentance is easily found in children, yet harder to come by in adults. They are sitting by the river, and in almost every previous scene of Eren and Armin in this spot, they discuss what lies beyond the walls. As such, I found this location for the start of Eren and Armin's final conversation extremely fitting, as they now both know what lies past the walls, and beyond that, Eren had just annihilated 80% of what lies beyond the walls, fracturing their shared childhood dream. The panel of flaming water, or lava, which is one of the few things that Armin had yet to see out of the ocean, lands made of ice, and fields of sand, further connects this scene to the dream that Armin and Eren both had when they were children, and the consequent barren wasteland imagery showcases how that dream is now broken beyond repair for Eren, and has changed significantly for Armin. But I'll get back to that later. In their conversation, Eren finally confirms Armin's theory. He had committed the rumbling and mass genocide in an attempt to secure ultimate freedom for those he cares about. It is in this moment, though, that the fallacy of Eren's conception of freedom also comes to light. In order to obtain freedom from Titans and secure the freedom for those he cares about, Eren sacrificed his own freedom and takes freedom from 80% of humanity, the people he mass murdered. During Armin and Eren's conversation, it becomes clear that Eren does have romantic feelings towards Mikasa and is remorseful that he can't live his life with her, even though he wouldn't change his actions. If given a chance to do things over, Eren would commence the rumbling once more, something that Armin deeply condemns yet understands. As Eren rejustifies his actions and his unwavering dedication to his plan becomes more apparent, Eren morphs back into his adult form. As Armin realizes that there was never anything he could have done to stop Eren from starting the rumbling, he also morphs back into an adult. Although Armin doesn't condone the genocide Eren initiated, he also promises Eren that he will make the most of the opportunity Eren has given him, and that he will save humanity. At the end of their conversation, Armin clutches the conch he got from the ocean, a symbol of civilization and his own more personal dreams. Now that I've gone over the stylistic elements of Eren and Armin's conversation, I'm going to give my opinion on it. As an Armin fan, I was hoping that there would be a final conversation between Eren and Armin, but to be honest, I felt kind of disappointed with how it went. It had already been established through Eren's conversation with Zeke what his motivation for the rumbling was, so it seemed kind of redundant for Eren to give a very similar speech to Armin. While Armin hadn't heard that conversation, of course, I felt that there should have been a more unique conversation between the two of them since it is the final chapter. In addition, even though I personally am a Mikasa-Eren fan, Eren's declaration of how Mikasa shouldn't find another man for 10 years and the parallel between Mikasa and Ymir seems to kind of come out of nowhere. After ruminating on it, I started to understand what Isayama was going for though, so I will briefly explain that. At first, I was confused as to why Ymir was fixated on Mikasa, as Mikasa is a member of the Ackerman clan and half Asian. Consequently, Mikasa is not a subject of Ymir and can turn into a Titan, so the fixation on Mikasa just seemed strange. However, after Eren reiterated that Ymir is in love with Karl Fritz, despite all of the horrific atrocities he committed against her and her family, things began to click into place. Ymir saw herself in Mikasa. Namely, she saw how dedicated Mikasa was to Eren, and how Mikasa remains dedicated to him even when Eren didn't treat her in the best manner. Shout out to manga chapter 112. As a result of this, Ymir wanted to see how Mikasa would react to Eren's rumbling plan. She wanted to see whether Mikasa would be able to set aside her dedication to Eren and kill him to save the world, or whether she would remain chained by her love of him, like Ymir remained shackled by her love of Karl Fritz. When Mikasa was able to free herself from the shackles of devotion and kill Eren for the sake of humanity, Ymir was also able to cast aside her love for Karl Fritz and eliminate Titan powers from the world. Although Ymir saw how much hatred and pain Titan powers caused in the world, she was unable to eliminate them. That is, until she saw Mikasa make what for her was the ultimate sacrifice, killing Eren for the sake of humanity. With all of that said, I must admit that while I understand what Isayama was going for, I didn't really like it. Although Eren had said some mean things to Mikasa in the past, what Karl Fritz did to Ymir was on a whole other level. Karl Fritz killed Ymir's parents, set fire to her hometown, and cut off her tongue. In contrast, Eren and Mikasa's relationship initially formed when Eren saved Mikasa from being trafficked, and they had a positive relationship until Eren's master plan started to unfold. Ymir's love for Karl Fritz has more of a Stockholm Syndrome vibe, so I feel uncomfortable equating that to Eren and Mikasa. Even if you aren't a fan of Eren and Mikasa romantically, I hope you can at least understand my point that at the very least, Mikasa's affection for Eren isn't a variant of Stockholm Syndrome. One last scene that I would like to talk about from Eren and Armin's conversation pertains to the moment when Eren claims that he is the one who directed Dina Fritz to move in the direction of his mother so that she wouldn't eat Bertholdt. At least that is what I'm guessing this scene meant, since it was a little vague. This is quite a bombshell to drop, and it isn't elaborated on at all. Eren doesn't really clarify how he was able to manipulate Dina Fritz, and to be honest, I don't think that this admission added anything to the story, so I don't understand why it was included. If anything, this scene just took away precious panels that could have been used to elaborate on topics already mentioned previously in the manga. Ever since that one scene where Carla tells Shadis that Eren is perfect the way he is, and that it's okay if he's not an exceptional person, I have absolutely loved her. So I was really disappointed that Isayama randomly decided to make Eren responsible for her death in the final chapter. After Eren and Armin's conversation, the story is brought back to the scene of the rumbling. There, Mikasa emerges from billowing steam, clutching Eren's head, and then the Shiganshina trio is reunited one last time. The panel of Mikasa and Armin cradling Eren's head is one of my favorite panels in the final chapter, as their pose around him is reminiscent of how Mikasa cradled Eren for the first time he transformed into a Titan, and Eren cradled Armin after he ate Bertholdt and became the Colossal Titan. The scene then shifts to the rest of the Eldians, who had transformed back into people. All of the Eldians who had formed a relationship with Eren, namely Jean, Reiner, Connie, and Annie, then remembered their own respective conversations with Eren, where he confessed the goal of his plans. Peak comically remarks that she wishes that she could have talked to him as well, and then there is an emotional scene where Annie is finally reunited with her father. While I didn't dislike this sequence of events, I also felt that it was sort of conciliatory or meant to placate the viewer since the main character of the manga had just died. Through this scene, Eren had been redeemed in the eyes of those he cares about, but I almost feel that it would have been better if he didn't get absolved considering he had just killed 80% of humanity. I personally didn't like how all of the characters were so quick to forgive Eren. If he had been redeemed at all, I think it should have been after the 3-year time skip when the characters had had time to ruminate on their feelings. Moving on, I absolutely loved the next scene of the chapter. I'd really been hoping that Levi would see an apparition of his generation of Survey Corps members, and I was not at all disappointed. It was great seeing Erwin and Hanji again, but I actually got the most emotional at seeing Petra, Eld, Gunther, and Oluo since they were the OG Team Levi, and I wasn't sure that they would be included in such a scene if it did occur. Seeing Levi dedicate his heart one last time as a Survey Corps insignia glimmered beside him, and knowing that he was symbolically laying all of his comrades to rest as he did so was my favorite scene of the entire chapter. Levi had really been beaten down emotionally and physically in the final arcs of Attack on Titan, so I was really happy that he was allowed a brief moment of reprieve in the final chapter. Sasha then flashes in front of Jean and Connie, Falco and Gabby reunite, and then Reiner and his mother have a moment where Reiner's mom tells him that it's okay he's not the armored Titan anymore, and that it's actually better this way. While this was a nice scene, it felt kind of forced. While it is plausible that the apocalyptic conditions of the final few chapters had led Reiner's mom to have a change of heart, she had put undue pressure on Reiner for such a long time that a last-minute apology felt, to me, more meh than heartwarming. I would have preferred it if Reiner had just seen Bertholdt one last time, or if they had put flashes of Reiner's conversation with Eren, since I'm sure it was an interesting one. Mikasa then leaves to give Eren a burial, and I feel that this scene really worked in the context of the final chapter. A huge ceremonial burial would have felt off given the circumstances, so the understated nature of Eren's final send-off was emotional and fit the atmosphere of the situation. The next scene was another highlight of the chapter. In this scene, the surviving Marleyans point guns at Eldians and tell them to prove that Eren Yeager is dead and that their Titan powers are truly gone. In a manner that directly parallels the imagery of when Armin convinced the members of the garrison that Eren wasn't a threat despite the fact he could turn into a Titan, Armin marches towards the Marleyans, unarming himself as he makes his way through the crowd. Real quick interjection, but if you want a full analysis on the garrison speech and Armin as a character, check out my analysis on Armin's evolution throughout the series. Anyway, this scene proves yet again that Armin can remain calm and rational under extreme pressure. Throughout the series, Armin has displayed the unique ability to think clearly while others panic, so it was really gratifying to see this skill put to use one last time in the final chapter. In addition, this scene helped cement how much Armin had truly grown from the time he gave the garrison speech, since before he needed Mikasa and Eren's reassurance in order to act, but this time he was able to do so on his own. Armin argues that if they still had the power of the Titans, then they would be using it to resist the Marleyan soldiers. However, the Eldians could do nothing but stand there as the Marleyan troops pointed their guns at them, which was proof of their humanity. After this, there is a 3-year time skip, and there is a panel showcasing Historia and her daughter. Historia doesn't speak in any of the following panels. Instead, there is a narration on how Paradis has intensely militarized under the nationalistic Jaegerist ideology in the years following the rumbling. There is clearly a politics of fear in Paradis, and Armin, Jean, Connie, Annie, Reiner, and Peak are heading back to Paradis for the first time to attempt to negotiate peace with the island. As Armin stands at the bow of the ship, a bird passes overhead, reminding Armin of their newfound freedom since Titans no longer exist. The scene then shifts to Mikasa sitting by Eren's grave. It becomes clear that Mikasa buried Eren at the tree he used to nap under in Shiganshina as a kid, and that Mikasa is still mourning Eren's death 3 years later. As Mikasa laments Eren's death under the tree, a bird, symbolizing freedom, comes and tugs at her scarf, helping Mikasa come to terms with his death and be free of the sadness that has likely plagued her since Eren died. Mikasa gingerly touches her scarf, and then thanks Eren one last time for wrapping the scarf around her when they were children. These panels are absolutely breathtaking, and I honestly can't think of a better final scene to conclude the series. Now that I've done a scene-by-scene analysis, I'm going to get into some things that I wish had been included in the chapter, and then discuss my overall thoughts on the finale. First, I was really disappointed that Historia had no lines in the final chapter. After Season 2, Historia quickly rose to become one of my favorite characters in the entire series, but I feel like she was kind of nerfed in the final arcs. I'd been hoping that she would give a grand Pericles' funeral oration-esque speech as a monarch in the final chapter, so I was really disappointed that she was essentially reduced to a visual. There was so much potential for Historia to do something grand, but she ended up doing nothing. In addition, I wish Isayama did something more with Jean. Jean has always been an interesting character to me because he values self-preservation, yet he puts himself into positions where he has a strong chance of dying after Marco's death. In the previous chapter, Connie pointed out that they all got into this mess because Jean joined the Survey Corps, so I thought that they would expand upon this, but in the end, Jean just got another horse joke. Which is fine, but I was just hoping for something more for him. Now it's time to get into my overall thoughts. I'm going to start with my more negative opinion and then end the video on a positive note. I think that the main issue with this chapter is that Isayama tried to resolve too many topics in too little space. I think the manga would have benefited greatly if there was just one more chapter. That way, chapter 139 could focus on the end of the rumbling, and chapter 140 could focus on 3 years after the rumbling. For a manga that excelled in foreshadowing, slowly revealing details over time, and keeping a steady pace, the ending seemed to reveal and wrap up way too many things at once. To be honest, the ending felt a little chaotic, and I feel that this issue would have been resolved if there had been more time for the story to conclude. Focusing on the positives now, I really liked how Isayama drew a parallel between Armin's garrison speech and the one he gave to the Marleyan soldiers. In addition, it was really emotional seeing Levi salute his fallen Survey Corps comrades one last time. Furthermore, I absolutely loved the final 4 pages of the chapter. Even if other aspects of the chapter were changed, I think that the scene with Mikasa by Aaron's grave should and could remain. Finally, it was fulfilling to know that Aaron had accomplished his ultimate goal. Aaron's purpose in life from the first chapter was to eliminate the Titans, and although he did so in a way that no one could have anticipated, he still succeeded in his goal. As viewers, you sympathize with Aaron's dream since day one, so it was really powerful knowing that although Aaron died, his dream was accomplished. Although I wasn't completely satisfied with the ending of Attack on Titan, I also wouldn't say that it was a terrible ending. The best way that I could describe my feelings towards it is lukewarm. Since the series had such an intricately woven storyline, I had sky-high expectations for the finale, and these expectations may have led me to feel disappointed no matter what ending Isayama gave. Ending aside, Attack on Titan was one of the most amazing series I have ever had the pleasure of reading. For almost 12 years, Isayama gave us all something to look forward to once a month, and for that, I am eternally grateful. I still haven't completely processed the fact that there will be no new chapter next month, but no matter how much time has passed, this series will always have a special place in my heart. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. If you notice that the audio quality is bad, yet you would like to watch more of my videos in the future, please consider supporting me on Ko-fi. I'm trying to buy a quality mic to use for my voiceovers, and a $2 donation would really help. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.